Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Science of Superpowers. I'm so glad that you're joining us again. We have quite a show for you. We're talking all about awakening today and the Awakened Company out of Canada because Catherine Bell is here with us. Hi, Catherine.
Hello, thank you for
So,
having me.
well, we're so glad to have you here with us, and we're going to be talking today about your path to awakening, right? So here on today's episode, Catherine Bell shares her path to awakening. Catherine is the founder of the Awakened Company, and so we're excited to hear about her and what that looks like, right? Like that's not typical, right? Coming out of the government, coming out of academia, coming out of whatever the industries are. If you were in the traditional kind of world, the idea of an awakened company is interesting. So we're going to dive into what that looks like, and what that means for you. And this is all part of our Women's History Month celebration. The Superpower Network celebrates Women's History Month and is proud to align with the 2023 theme of honoring the women who tell our stories. As more women endeavor to find their voices and share their experiences, we open pathways for others to follow. We love you, love each other. Very cool. We will get on to the episode today. So, Catherine, what are your superpowers and how are you using them for good?
What a fabulous question. And I want to share with you my aim in life. And I think that it's an invitation for everybody to consider what is their aim and what is the field asking for them and from them. So my aim is to be and become ever more a healthy muse to radiate love, power, and wisdom in service to humanity and the planet.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. And that's quite an undertaking, right? And I like the muse concept. We work with the creative element a lot. We love the connection of creativity and creation and the creator and however we choose to put that together for ourselves. So I love the idea of the muse, right? So what helped you stumble upon that?
A lot of inner work. So I studied the Enneagram, and I don't know if you've studied it at all, but it's an incredibly powerful portal for how do we actually be more present in our lives. It's like there's nine pathways to getting more present. So I do a lot of work with the Enneagram, and doing that inner work, I'm like, what is it that I really need to learn? What is it that I need to embody? And what's the environment asking me to be and to do and to feel and to experience? So a lot of inner work came to that aim. So I'd invite everybody to cultivate that inner aim, because unless we have that intent, some kind of intention, we either kind of lead our awareness or we will be led, because our brains are naturally wired to the more negative. So how do we kind of get to the more positive? And that, I believe, is with intention. And my superpower that you asked is really intuition. And what's super interesting, I don't know if you've heard of human design.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, human design. I'm clair everything except for clairaudient. So I know that my hearing is a bit of a blind spot for me. So for everybody to really get in touch with what are their gifts and to pay attention. The other day I had 2 deer appear on my lawn. I live in a downtown city. 2 deer. So for me, it's like, okay, what are the deer telling me? What are they communicating with me about? And for me, deer energy is about the heart. I'm like, okay, how do I open up my heart more? How do I get more vulnerable? So for me, the intuition, superpower, and the translation of and paying attention to space. What is our space telling us? And then it's like the universe is constantly winking at us if we're on or off track.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love it. I love to refer to it as like getting constant affirmations or course correction, right? If we're open to it, we don't have to, like, that's a lot of pressure to think that we're going to interpret all of these symbols and whatever they are for you, however you look at them. Perhaps you don't look at animals that appear as something unique to you. Maybe it speaks to you in some other ways. You know, we get our inspiration through all kinds of mechanisms. And one of the things we love about the superpower quest, right? The superhero's journey, however you want to refer to it, when you step out into the world and you decide to use the world as your playscape, right, is how you get to move through life in a creative element and creative expression, then the world absolutely responds back with those little twinkling lights, right? But that's you lit up when you light up, the world reflects that back, and beautiful, beautiful testament that to that. And then from there was a whole company that came out of it. So we're going to talk about that after the break. Before we do, where can we go to where can we send people to find out more about you?
You can find us on awakencompany.com. We're also on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. So come and play with us. And we really focus on giving content, so for stuff for people to use. So come and follow us on our social media and sign up for our newsletter.
Fabulous, fabulous. Go check out the Awaken Company, folks, and make sure you're getting over to superpowerexperts.com to check out the Superpower Quest, right? If you want to learn what it's like to move through the world in your own little kind of intention sphere, right, of energetics that's constantly refueling and inspiring you, go check out what that looks like, right? How do you do that for yourself? How do you take on this big wild world, these multiverses that are available to us, and make it an adventure, right? That's what we get to have here. So go check out superpowerexperts.com, check out awakencompany.com, folks, and we will be right back, because today we're hearing all about how Catherine Bell is sharing her story of awakening, her path of awakening. I don't know, what did we call this? Catherine Bell shares her path to awakening. There we go, nailed it. Going to the break, we'll be right back, folks. Awesome. We're back. You're watching the Science of Superpowers. That's right. We're now on YouTube and Rumble, or you're listening to it on amazing podcast players all around the globe. We thank you for being here with us. You've helped make the Superpower Network in the top 1.5% of podcasts globally. That matters to us, and we appreciate that tremendously. So thank you for being back with us. Catherine Bell today is sharing her path of awakening, what that's been like, that journey, discovering, like stepping into something, saying, oh, I want to name a company, an awakened company, right? And then being successful with that. Catherine, what was that journey like for you?
So imagine this, we're in a dimly lit cafe in New York City, and all of a sudden it was like a lightning bolt was planted into my head. You're to write a book called The Awakened Company. So I turned to my colleague and I'm like, Carolyn, like, I'm to write this book. And she's like, yes, you are. Trademark it right away. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So, well, that's how it began. And I started writing and writing and writing. And at the time, I had founded an organization with my business partner, Shahana, called Blue Era. And it was all about executive search and doing executive search in a different way. We became a Profit 10 in our province, a Profit 200 in Canada, and one of the highest performing work cultures. So it became like my little petri dish to play in, to try all these new different concepts. However, the first book was written on how do you hire people. So I kept on writing and writing, and I gave it to my partners, and they're like, this is terrible. This is absolutely a terrible book. You're not going to get this published. So I became aware that what was actually more interesting was the culture that we were creating at Blue Era. We had unlimited vacations. We had bring your dog to work day. We were doing things not by the old system. We were doing things in our own way. And so I wrote the book, and I was like, I want Eckhart Tolle's publisher to publish this. I really want Namaste. Well, I went to her. No, we're not going to publish it. Well, guess what? I kept trying. So like I was guided to just keep trying and keep trying. And then she finally said, yes, it represents the consciousness that we think is needed for how we build organizations now. And it's really about bringing our humanity back into our companies, and it's about little daily practices. It's none of this is rocket science and everybody can do it. It's how we, and just for us to think about, if you look at a drop in the ocean, the first drop is we awaken ourselves. So we do personal development, then we awaken our relationships, which is the next drop. And of course, it's all interconnected. Everything we do is always affected. We're always affecting each other, and we're always affecting the environment as well. So awaken ourselves, awaken our relationships, awaken our teams, awaken our organizations. So the Awakened Company really has practices as to how to do all of that. And the majority of businesses fail. The majority of people are disengaged. The people rate the worst time of the day as their time with their bosses. So we need a new way of doing things. And that's what the Awakened Company really represents. And I'm a mother, I'm an athlete, I am involved in all these things. I'm a partner, I have business partners. And I just want to invite people into their potential, to live into their potential by being more present, by really listening to the lightning bolts in their lives. Because I believe humanity needs a new way of being and doing. And I think the work that you're doing around superpowers is a way to do it by tapping into this. I love the way you talked about field immediately before we got on. And that's what it's about, is how do we pay attention to our context?
That's right. And our connections, right? We got the same memo over here at Superpower Experts. And when Justin and I wrote, we came out of the government and built a corporate counterintelligence firm. And in that, we were able to do a lot of due diligence work into many different businesses around the globe. And so we got to see behind the scenes in a lot of different business models and got to see what wasn't working, right? Where people were saying one thing in their marketing, but not delivering, right? And just all of that. And it's like, and I remember a very real moment. It was visceral for me because I left Counter Intel for some very specific reasons, but not the least of which was that it was very difficult to move into wholeness when I was lying about who I was, what I was doing, why I was doing it, right? It was really challenging for me over time to hold both as I was in the transition. And the atrocities, right? The deception at that level that you see in espionage, the depravity of the social consciousness, that the purposeful, intentional hurt that is caused with huge ripple effects for the entire globe that you feel you're in that. I didn't know how to hold that and allow myself to develop, right, and to move out of that. And so coming into entrepreneurship, it was an incredibly rude awakening to find it in business. And I'm like, we don't have to do it here, folks. We don't have to do it anywhere. But espionage is like what, the second oldest profession? Like maybe it happened first. I don't know, but it's been around forever. But in business, like with each other, like really, like do we have to be like this? And so it was I had to go through this whole like depression of like, what are we like? We saw deception in business that rivaled what we saw in espionage. And it was like, what? Why would we? Why? Just get creative. Like go make money in a positive way. Like this isn't that difficult, folks. And so that was sort of that hump of like, okay, well, we will, and it started with, when Neva was 2, we decided we weren't going to do business anywhere that she couldn't be a part of. Right. Well, fast forward at age 7, starts writing a book. She's, gives a keynote at age 7 in front of 25,000 people, right? Best-selling Amazon author by 9, top 40 under 40 in podcasting. What's possible when we show people what's possible, right? Instead of, I don't know, instead of whatever that was. And so moving into that space, right, and seeing exactly what you're talking about, like we can do better. And then how do we combat the programming, right? And so the institute really is passionate about solving for the human condition in co-creative environments. And that's what you're talking about. Relationships are co-creative. The second there's 2 or more of us, it's co-creative. And there are different dynamics because the field is there, right? There is an element of relationship and connection that we don't totally understand at subtle levels yet, that informs everything we're doing. And so we can put the best spaces in place, the best context, everything else. As individuals, to your point, we must be developed. If we want to be in co-creative spaces, we have to be able to hold ourselves in co-creative spaces. And that's where SIFA finally came through. It was like, we need a tool. We need a mechanism. We need a way for people to get there now in a moment when things are stressful, right? At the height of a COVID situation, we need people solid and centered and aware and present and guided by preferably something beyond their own egos, right? And so that wave, right? And I know so many of you are on that wave. That's what we're talking about, right? Whether it's Superpower Experts, whether it's Awaken Company, whether it's your company, whether it's your dream, whether it's your passion, whether it's simply you wanting to express creatively into the world, bust out, folks. break out, figure it out, get out,
It
and express, right?
It really, really is time. And what's interesting is the business research supports what we're saying. So
Everything supports what we're saying. Oh my gosh,
everything.
5 million downloads a month in 2020 talking about superpowers. We're already, I stepped on you again. I'm on my soapbox. Please continue.
Well, so the more self-aware we are, the higher performing we are as leaders. So the invitation is for us to use tools that, such as what you're doing, such as the Enneagram, such as meditation, such as stillness, silence, to become more self-aware and self-reflective so that we can be the leader. And I believe everybody can be a leader. What's super interesting is if the moment we call somebody other than a leader a follower, their behavior actually degrades. So everybody is who's listening, you're a leader, own it. And take
That's right.
responsibility for your self-awareness.
That's
And
right.
then relationships, like how are we connecting with each other from a heart level? How are we connecting with each other from a head level? And how are we connecting from our bellies? And just to begin to think that way.
That's right.
A different way of being. And, yesterday I was meeting with a client and I'm doing a big keynote for them. Super amazing company. And we were talking about what I had my plan for what I wanted to speak to them about. And then my intuition guided me. I'm like, Kath, this isn't what they need. So then I asked what their vision was to this group of people, this group of senior leaders, and not one of them knew what their company vision was. They kind of all had pieces of it. I'm like, oh, my intuition, whoop, that's where they need to go, is how to cultivate an accurate vision. Because unless we have our North Star, our inner compass, it's hard to calibrate unless we have a North Star. We all need to have our inner compasses. So just for businesses and organizations, if you're an entrepreneur, listen to this. Create a clear 5 to 7 word vision, and then consider who do you have to be to get to where you want to go. And that's where the awareness then comes in. And then the business research tells us we need to focus 2/3 on our corporate culture, i.e. how are we treating each other as human beings,
That's
and
right.
1/3 on finance. I almost think of it's like the divine masculine and divine feminine. So the divine feminine is more the culture piece. The mercurial, it's hard. Culture is hard because it's our relationships, and we can make it soft and we can make it tangible, and we can help to really create that. And in the creation of healthy corporate cultures or organizational cultures, the finances will come. The business research shows highest performing are those that focus on culture and finance, more emphasis on the culture. Lowest performing, those that focus on finance alone, which is where I think you get a lot of the behaviors that you were just speaking of that are just false. It does nothing to anybody's soul. And we separate out who we are as people from our work. And we need to realize we are not separate.
No, and there's a huge cost to that, folks. You can't do it. You start reading your energy field and you're like, oh, you got more cleanup to do. It's like, I love when people are talking like, no, you're gonna have to clean that up later. Okay, you want to grab? No, okay, keep going. You want to keep building that reality because it's okay. I'm gonna step back now. I don't want anything to do with that because we keep going into these spaces when we don't want to. We don't want to, and it's usually just because we're in a program and we can't tell the difference. But we can tell the difference now, folks. Catherine, it seems like there's probably some very valuable work that we can do together as companies with our lit up pieces as we prepare more and more people to be productive in co-creative environments. Like to your point, it's one thing, folks, to say, oh, I'm going to lead this multi-million-dollar company and I'm going to run this mission. Are you ready? Can you? Can you stand there solidly and hold a vision against all enemies, foreign and domestic, including you? Can you do it? Right? And it's there's no enemy but you, but your programs, but what you believe, but what you think is going to happen, but what you're afraid of, but what you're programmed to react with when someone comes at you in disagreement or their own discomfort. Can you sit in other people's discomfort with them, because that's what a leader has to do. Because you're saying, hey, I think we can do this differently. And that makes people very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. And in the book, Awaken Company, I actually talk about leaning into discomfort, how we really need to lean into the uncomfortable conversations.
Well, we have just the tool for that, because, I got my start in critical race theory. There is no more uncomfortable place than trying to teach a group of white people about white racial identity development, right? It just isn't. We don't like it. We don't want to do it. It's scary. We don't want to talk about it, right? It's like, right, all of our programs go off and it feels very, very frightening. And so when you can sit in those spaces and say, hey, I think it's going to be okay. I think we can talk about this. I think we can move forward from here. Hey, we have some solutions, right? That's the start, and then counter intel, right? And so when you learn how to sit in really uncomfortable spaces, folks, and still feel love, still soften your heart, still stay in those roots, right? We're going to go below the belly, folks. We're going all the way into those roots, and sometimes we need to go deep in those roots to stand solid, because we're not facing small matters. We got to figure out how to get a whole lot of people to share a planet, like roommates, right? Respectful roommates.
The only way to do that is by organizing differently, by behaving
Absolutely.
differently. And I loved your
and being different, right? Having the courage to be different.
And be different. And I love what you said about the roots, because I practice that I use is to feel your feet. Like it's a simple practice, and to feel the energy beneath the feet, feel the earth.
That's right. We have all kinds of
different elements, and the,
Yep.
use the fire, use the space, use the wood, et cetera, et cetera.
That's the yummy space, folks. That's the deliciousness of life. We're missing out. We're missing out when you are able to access the depth of yourself, and you can walk through the world in that level of vulnerability and transparency. You are at your most powerful. It is amazing. So make sure you're getting over, folks. If you want to know how to build your company that way, get over to awakencompany.com. Check out Catherine's book. Get over to superpowerexperts.com if you want to know how to hold that energy field and make it bigger. Bigger. We are big. We are ginormous. We're there, right? And we got this. So Catherine, thank you so much for being on the show, for coming there, especially during Women's History Month. What a beautiful message for all the women out there. Find your voice, find your story. We are the women who tell our stories if we only dare to have the courage to do it. Catherine, thank you for your time on our show today. What are some last points or words that you'd like to share with the audience?
This just came to me unexpected. Use death as a catalyst to fully live.
That's right.
To
pass on through, folks.
We don't get the moments back, and invitation to wake up, to be here.
Well, and here's what's beautiful. What's death but knowing yourself beyond the physical? You get to do that now. You get to play the advanced course now. You don't have to wait for your body to die. In fact, it's much more fun with your body because there's sensory perceptors and there's yumminess. And all right, we'll get into those with the advanced courses.
It's so true. I just want to say what she's saying is real and true.
Anyway, for those who know, you know. For those who don't, well, come along. We've left breadcrumbs. So get over to superpowerexperts.com. Come play with us. Catherine, thank you so much for having the courage to be different, to do different, to encourage others to be their best and bigger selves, and to create and express that creatively through the globe. We appreciate you and all your work in the world.
Thank you. And I greatly appreciate what you're doing and what you're teaching, and also really what you are taking a stand for. So what a privilege to be with you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And all of you out there, thank you for helping to make this network popular, for keeping going when sometimes we don't feel like keeping going. And make sure you get over to superpowerexperts.com if you need some energy, right? If you need to know how to do this, we got you. We got you. We can do this, right? And we can do this together. So we love you all. Love each other. Until next time, take care. Goodbye for now.